So we're live, but we haven't like officially started.
That is correct. We usually give about 5 minutes before we start talking, just so we give the audience some time, and of course for any of our people who are participating to like spread the news to their friends and stuff.
I have like a slap boxing video I thought I lost. Where it's like me and my friend just
Oh,
slap
what?
boxing because me and my friend were slap boxing because he was like, "You want to do it?" And like everyone was saying no, and he was like, everyone was pussy. He looked at me, I was like, "You want to do it?" I was like, "Fuck yeah." So we went to the staircase and we just slap boxed.
You slap box in a staircase.
Yeah, good times, good times.
See, okay, we'll save that because I'm gonna round back to that. We're gonna round back to that in this tonight, EJ.
Yeah, man, slap boxing's crazy.
You know, there's a massive fucking oil spill in California earlier. I just went on Twitter to retweet and like and found that. I was like, wow.
You know, it doesn't surprise me that there's the oil leak in California. Probably should, but it doesn't.
Yeah, this is believed to have originated from a pipeline leak.
Pipeline leak that probably happened because the pipes burst because it's not pumping what it's supposed to be pumping. Pressure buildup. Ooh, oh boy.
Yeah, here, let me share this in the, where is it? Stream BC. Oh my gosh.
Yeesh, that's a pretty bad spill. Wait a minute, I know where those things are.
Yes.
All right. We are just about a little under a minute, about 45 seconds left until we are good to start talking. I'm assuming standard. I'll lead the introductions, and then you'll take the floor, Maniacal.
That works for me. Yeah.
I got a dog on my lap, and I love him so much.
Yeah. But yeah, but if you ever want me to handle introductions, just let me know.
All right.
I mean, like, I'm guessing like there'd be a time where if like we have this set up to where it's like it's just me and like 3 other guests, and yeah, I probably would take over those doing the
If
introductions.
anything, if wait, yeah, of course your PC can handle it. Your PC can handle quite a bit. I would have to run you through how to like set up Streamlabs and then log into the Xenolich Twitch stream so that you can stream it on there.
Yeah,
But
that
for the
would
most part, we can go ahead and talk about that after stream as we have just officially passed the 5-minute timer.
All right.
So, welcome on everyone. It is another Sunday at the Lich Lounge, and here we are joined by our guests, with which today's topic Maniacal is actually going to be leading. But first, let's get the introductions out of the way. As usual, I'm one of your co-hosts, Xenolich.
And for me today, I will be taking the lead as main host.
Don't forget your name.
As well, that put me on the spot like that, man. Yeah, I am Maniacal. As I said, I will be your main host tonight.
All right, and for the most part, EJ, Skittles, whoever wants to go next.
Skittles, do you want to go?
Go ahead and start us off, EJ.
Good talk. Hi, my name is EJ. 5'8". I got a basketball game tomorrow. That's about it.
Likes long walks on the beach.
Right.
Yeah,
EJ,
like
as you'd all know, is one of our Tuesday players. He plays as I'm trying to remember the names of your characters again.
which is my most recent campaign, and then for a good old Icewind Dale is Seath, the warlock, and now I'm a cleric.
Of course. And then all we have left is Skittles.
Yes, I exist.
Skittles, as you would all know, is one of our Saturday players, and she is playing as Tiz, the Obelix. But without further ado, that's about our introductions out of the way. Go ahead, Maniacal. The floor is yours.
Yes. Well, tonight's topic is actually a very interesting one because I feel like it's one that a lot of people have probably touched base in at some point, either within an actual podcast or just as their group of their friends. And that topic is back in my day. And when I say back in my day, I mean like stuff that is like happened within most people's like early childhood and stuff like that. And I kind of wanted to start off with the topic of toys because I feel like that has been something that has really changed since when I was a kid. Because prime example, do any of you at all remember a toy called Scanners? And it's
Fuck.
and it's Scanners spelled SKANNERZ or Z.
No,
I
unfortunately,
I actually don't. I know we grew up relatively in the same age range.
Yeah,
I
let
know
me.
what you're talking about.
Yeah, I figured you might. But
My little brothers were about that shit.
yeah, I was about that shit too, man. Let me in VC text. Let me show you for Zeno and EJ what it is me and Skills are talking about. Now, the thing about this, and this is the one I had. The thing about Scanners is what essentially what it was is to put in retrospect, it was essentially Pokemon Go or any of those Go games where you went and looked for things out in the world. Like it was some.
Oh my god.
Yes, I actually recall these, but for me, it wasn't through Scanners. It was because Digimon Frontier had come out, and so it was like a Digivice scanner.
It was that is exactly, but these came out before those, and this company actually made spin-offs, which I didn't know about until I started looking them up for this podcast tonight. They made one called Scanners Racers. Same
Racer.
premise.
Yo.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's the same premise, except the difference was is so what these things were is you'd go out and you'd scan barcodes, and these barcodes would give you monsters, or in case of the racers, it give you cars and mods. And so, what was that, EJ?
Huh? Oh,
Oh,
I would. No, I remember like seeing these, but like early in like my early childhood. I remember my boy had one of them, and we went to like the Rite Aid that is now Walgreens, but still like we went there. He was scanning things, and like I was not interested in it because I had my Game Boy SP.
Yeah. Well, I was all about this because it was the coolest thing to me as a kid. Like, I scan this and then I get this and then I can go fight my friend with these. It was really like at the time it was really freaking cool because you worked for these. It wasn't just like okay, I went and got it or anything like. It was like you had to go out and you had to scan all these things just to get like the best thing.
I know. No, exactly. This thing, as I explained before, it was through the Digimon variants, and I remember not understanding that it was through barcodes. I just thought it was a scanner. My little child brain couldn't put two and two together to realize it was for that. But I do remember that these things apparently were like there was like a trick to them that you could like shake them up, like so when you would like do the button to scan. Instead of properly scanning a barcode, you would just like shake it really fast, and it would detect as though it found something.
Oh yeah, because the Digimon ones had I think an accelerometer. So if you started running, like that's what their whole thing was. Is like if you had it with you while you were jogging, which I don't know what kid was going like, I'm gonna go for a jog.
Yeah, but if you're at the playground, you're like eating.
Yeah,
Go.
there it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the playground was like different for me, anyways, because I didn't like any of the kids when I was in elementary school. I personally just did not like anyone. So yeah, I was a bit of a loner because I was playing the aforementioned Game Boy SP.
Let them
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Which is a good. But what about you guys? Like any toys that seemed like really cool? Because like you just don't see stuff like this anymore, in my opinion. Like to- toys aren't like this cool because it's all done through smartphones and stuff like Pokemon Go and everything like that.
Now, I will say this just because it is an obviously like big topic, and it's still around to this day. But Tamagotchis were huge, and I think still do have like some semblance of a presence today.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
actually,
they put out like retro toys the past few years, which delve deep into like the early '90s nostalgia. Tamagotchi was one of them. You guys remember rehashing the Furbies that they put out? There was
Yes.
like the robot puppy thing, the iPuppy.
yeah. Well, and like those are all the like they didn't choose like anything obscure. They chose like the most popular, like the things that anyone would see, and you'd be like, "Oh yeah, that's a Tamagotchi." You show this scanner thing to someone, they'd be like, "What the fuck is this?"
I, out of curiosity, so that's what I'm thinking. So like, it sounds like at least from what it looks like, each of us do recall it. You know, some of us more vividly than others, but each of us do recall it. But not through its original scanners format. Kind of in the just the spin-offs that encompass the company.
Yeah, but also like, because here's the thing: you show a Furby or a Tamagotchi, like when those things first came out. If you showed those, because those were like pop culture icons, like they were just part of pop culture history. So you could show them to anyone, and they would be like, "Oh yeah, that's a Tamagotchi." Even like a kid who's like 10 now, when we were 10, would be like, "Oh yeah, that's a Tamagotchi." You show them what I'm playing with, like this thing, they would just look at me completely confused. Like no way they could tell what that was.
Do you remember?
But
Oh, sorry. Go for it.
uh, no, go ahead. I finished.
I don't know. I was gonna say. Do you remember the depending on your household, you probably would have had it around or not. But I think of this meme whenever I think of the Sky Dancers, where it was like a almost like a spinning top, but it was attached to a doll with like wings, so it would like fly around and spin. But whenever I see that, it just makes me think of the meme or the video of the kid who sets her Sky Dancer to fly and it just goes straight into
Straight
the
to the fire.
yeah.
Wow.
So I'm thinking to myself, like, just imagine all those parents who like had to deal with like, ah, yes, it's cool, it flies into the sky, and now here's the wind blowing into like horrible place, or like my neighbor's lawn. Now I have to awkwardly go tell them, my child launched a toy into your backyard. Though I promise you, it probably didn't hurt anything.
Oh yes, I remember Sky Dancers, but I had do you guys remember that weird toy that was pretty much trying to ride on Beyblade's coat wheels, and it was just a tire? That you
Yeah,
moved?
oh my god, I used to see them all the time in Rite Aid. Like literally, I used to like pick up the packaging and look at them and be like, yo, like I could hurt someone with this. And then my childhood mind was like, I should buy this so I could hurt someone with this.
But yeah, those things were fucking weird because they were just a
Real rubber.
tire. Yeah, they were
Yeah.
made of real tire rubber too. That was the weird thing. And they
Like,
had like different treads. Like they had the NASCAR straight flat rubber. They had like street race or like good year tread, but also like the off road tires. Well, what they also made were these things that worked a lot like uh, the flying dancer thingy, but it was just fucking helicopter blade encased in. And you'd pull that thing, and that thing would go like 100 feet into the air. So I know exactly what you're talking about because you'd send that thing and it just go up, like it just go up and then fly somewhere, and you'd just be chasing it, watching it, going like, I'm gonna get it. If you weren't playing with that like in an open field or anything, you run right into a sticker bush or something.
God.
I
Could-
remember like so when I was a child. Wait, were you done? Because I don't want to interrupt.
Yeah, go ahead. You have the floor, EJ.
When I used to like chill with my grandma, and we'd go to Staten Island to see like the person who she's still married to now. We would like go to Family Dollar. It was like a humongous. Oh my god, I've never seen a Family Dollar that size ever again. But they had a humongous toy aisle, and like I remember going there and
You
like,
sure it wasn't a Walmart?
no, we don't have those in New York. Those
Yeah,
are
Oh,
considered illegal, actually. But
Yeah,
exactly.
there's zoning laws in Seattle for that shit too. You have to go outside of the city limits.
yep,
that is an odd. I see now why so many people associate Walmart with rednecks because apparently Walmart is a country store.
it is. But you would never know that if you lived.
But anyways, your Family Dollar.
All right, so the Family Dollar was humongous, but they had a humongous toy aisle, and like I would go there. I'm gonna try to describe this as the best I can. So it was like a handle that you'd hold vertically, and it had like a drawstring, and like one of the things, basically like the dancing doll, but you had to like manually pull it, and like I think I remember getting it. I remember getting like a purple one. Purple was my favorite color, still is. And I remember I went outside and I just like I ripped it as hard as like however old I was, probably under 10 or something, but like I ripped it super hard. And I just remember it like cracking my grandma. Like it was either on the way up or on the way down, but I just remember she got like I don't remember anything else with that toy.
You just remember Grandma got mad.
I remember grandma getting pissed and either A, she snapped it or she threw it out. She did one of those things, but she got pressed. She was so upset. And then I got like a Nerf gun for Christmas one year. Only one year because I shot my sister with it. But like, child me was either like Evil Knievel or like some shit where I'd like bounce it off the wall and it'd still hit her in her eye or her lip.
You trick shot your sister.
I would.
Okay, and I'm glad you brought up Nerf guns because Nerf guns is like the one toy that like hasn't.
Universal.
Yeah, it is universal. Universal. Like they have paired up with like big video games like Fortnite, and I think they even did a brand deal with Halo for a
They
little
did
bit.
Halo,
Well, duh, because it's
Fortnite.
Nerf
They
or
have
nothing.
some Roblox ones. Uh,
Wait, they did Roadblocks?
Yeah, I went to Target like a couple of days and they had like a Roblox one. And I was like, what the fuck? And I picked it up and I looked at it and I was like, baby. And she was like, fuck you doing? And I'm
Like,
like, come on.
it's just like that is fucking. But no, what I'm saying, but what I want to say about Nerf guns is like they went from like being these happy toys to some of them function like actual rifles. To where I'm like, they're training child soldiers with these.
Yes.
These are like this is a bit too realistic.
The Nerf pistol I have Like I have two of them. I got one because it was like on sale because the box was ripped, but everything was still in it, so it's like $10. I got like the Nerf Fortnite pistol, and like you cock it back, and you can like load in bullets that way, and that's as realistic as I've ever seen one get. But I know they have another one where like you just straight empty a clip, clack it back in, and it's just like, oh my god.
Oh yeah, you're talking about
The
the
snipers, the snipers
yeah,
actually like you pull them back, and it's just like Jesus Christ.
oh yeah, no, I have it's a bolt action, and you're just like you're like, damn, I feel like this. And they fire circular, and that's actually one thing that was crazy to me.
Certified killer.
I never thought Nerf would ever change their formula with their darts, but no, they went with foam balls for this, and I was like, wow.
I have that one.
Yeah,
I have
Yeah.
like the regular darts and then the mega dart one, which hurts like a bitch.
yeah. You had something to add, Zeno?
Oh no, I was just going off in the whole like idea of like, man, I wasn't too much into Nerf because at least for me, it's like I guess it also probably relates to like how I'm not too crazy into first person shooter games. But at least the thing I found always absurd was like how like Nerf would really get to like strange levels with their toys, like absurd, like almost like cartoonishly like big levels.
You make a very good statement because there was the one era, and this was back when zombies were like really huge. They had
Zombie blasters? Oh my god.
yes, you know exactly what I'm talking
Yo,
about. Those
they
things
had
were
one with a
outrageous.
chainsaw on the like it was like oh god, they had one with a chainsaw on the bottom and then it was like a revolver type deal and I was just like, Jesus.
They came out with a nail gun version. I was like, what the fuck is like,
Trying to have little Billy run up on Jimmy, talk about yo, we're my uncrustable.
oh god. But
And then of course they're still around to this day. But man, Beyblade starting out wasn't as dangerous as it is now.
Oh my
oh,
god.
dude, I can tell you horror stories of Beyblade incidents.
They got banned in my school.
They,
Like
I
they
wouldn't. I'm not surprised.
I mean,
like
like,
oh god.
yeah, I think I've told you guys the story before. Like, I told you like how uh in my school we played for blades, man. You fucked about. You lost your blade, man. You didn't.
You come home and your mom and dad are like, "What happened to your toy? I lost the battle and I had to give it." You don't gamble with
like,
toys.
like, you don't understand, mom. It was high stakes. I had I had to follow the code. There's a code at the playground, mom. You gotta follow the code.
You don't know the code, man. You don't know me.
You can't show weakness. But I need you to get me another blade, mom. I need to redeem myself.
What I'm gonna get you is another hand to the ass. No, I'm kidding. But
Oh
definitely like the whole idea of like doing chores to go and get like the new toy, around the block, was always a big thing for me because I remember doing a hell of a lot of chores. And now I know how to wash the dishes very well.
Uh,
I
okay, so
still
this
suck
is.
at washing the dishes.
No, I got pretty good at that, but that's more of I moved in with people that refuse to do dishes, so I was like, well, fuck, I don't want dirty dishes, so I better just learn how to fucking do dishes. Because when I was a kid, we had the dishwasher, so I just had to make sure. But then again, I was an independent kid. Like my mom, I was a single kid until like 14, and my mom spoiled me in the sense of like she got me whatever I wanted, but not like immediately. Like she would
You'd work
see what
for it
I
essentially.
essentially like I'd make sure I'd have to do like well in school and stuff like that, which means no getting into fights, no sassing the teachers, do my work as best I could, and making sure like I at least kept my room clean. Which, as a kid with OCD, that was fairly easy. So it like wasn't anything challenging. Like there's like I was fucking spoiled and privileged as a kid. Know that. But like a lot of people when they're like, "Ah, you were a spoiled kid," I was like, "Yeah, but I also had a mom that was working like 24/7, and I never saw her unless it was like the holidays or something."
Oh,
So immediately I would be like, I would have traded having a mom that worked to get me what I needed and I spent a lot of time with versus a mom that I'd come home from school and I wouldn't see for like 4 hours. But
Well, shoot. Well, I mean, what's another let's see, what's another toy?
Alright,
Skittles
so-
do. Oh, never mind. Go for it, EJ.
Oh wait, no. I
Oh.
feel like
I was gonna say like if Skittles had anything to contribute for the back in my day toy.
I mean, like you mentioned Beyblades, and if Skittles, you're cool with us switching to cartoons, or hey,
I don't know. We could segue kind of because
Yeah.
I was gonna talk about like a really weird crossover. I came out around Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles time,
oh my god.
so we were all about the action figures and the video games, and like my brothers had them, I'd steal them and play with my Barbies and the turtles. They'd go beat ass together. It was kind of cool. But there was like this strange crossover I remember, and I don't think anybody I've ever run into has remembered it. But Usagi Yojimbo was in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comics. And then they had like a brief spot in the show, like a weird crossover thing. They came out with the action figure, and that was like my favorite fucking thing. It was a samurai rabbit, and he was fucking badass. And that's what I remember.
oh,
I remember that
action
actually.
figures. You remember? You're talking about action figures, which
Like the
are
old school, articulated ones that had the giant rubber bands on the inside. If you pulled too hard, they'd snap and you'd hurt yourself. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember if GI Joe was a part of that category.
Yeah, they were a little bit smaller. These were like pretty large sized action figures.
like a lot of things were. The thing is like from mine skill, like all of our generations, they didn't give a fuck about us kids. They did not give a damn.
No, we still had lawn darts. They had not been outlawed yet.
Oh my! I just watched Distractable. Uh, I listened to one of the Distractable episodes, and they mentioned lawn darts, and I was like, I don't for the life of me remember these. Like, I don't remember playing with them, but I fucking remember them existing.
That's how it is most of the time.
God.
But
I was gonna say is quickly just bringing it up because obviously the action figures and I brought it up. I still think it's hilarious how they tried to make GI Joe come back through a movie series, and then all I remember was the first movie and just nothing more coming from that.
There was more?
there was a second one. They did
What?
a second movie. They're actually giving Snake Eyes his own fucking origin
Yeah,
story.
and there's like a new one coming out soon too.
Yeah,
Oh shit!
but
Good on them. I hope I
Yeah.
can remember it this time.
I mean, so here, if you said the next segue, I guess, was into like shows or cartoons from the '90s, right?
yes, because you mentioned Beyblades. I need to mention the. This is back when Cartoon Network didn't give a fuck what they put on. Well, in the sense that they didn't give a fuck what they put on in a good way, instead of today where they're like it's colorful and it keeps the kids entertained. Fuck it. In this sense, they're like, oh, these kids are like under. I'm talking about the Beyblade anime, and I'm like
Oh
talking the first season where it's these kids that are spinning tops that are going like 200 RPM a fucking minute, man. These things are going nuts. And one episode that sticks out in my mind is it's just these kids. It's like 4 kids in the middle of the woods training. And I'm like, what kind of training do you do for a top that they are fucking pulling bungee cords tied to like
freezing shit.
stumps. They're under like waterfalls doing their let it rip stance and pulling like the thing under the waterfall. And like as a kid, I didn't understand that. I'm like, oh, it's water. You just stand underneath. No, as an adult, now that I understand that is like thousands of pounds of pressure just falling on you. I'm like, this is 12-year-old kids. like, I was
So
like, Cartoon Network.
They're
Go ahead.
gangster, man.
no, well, that's kind of just reminding me of like. So in the sense of like there's shows that cared either like little about kids versus shows that like I don't know if any of you are aware of this, but Yu-Gi-Oh
Oh my God,
infamous for the Shadow Realm change, because in Japanese, like, the Shadow Realm is not like a thing that exists. It's supposed to be like, oh, when you lost the game, you died, but they had to change that to the Shadow Realms for the English audience because the TV producers here were like worried about the messages that would send out to the kids.
Dude, the Shadow Realm is darker than that, man. You don't die. You don't die. You spend an eternity in the Shadow Realm. You get trapped in a car, man. That
shit was
scared the
cold
hell
for
out
childhood,
of me.
man. You
I think
lost
that's
that through your life.
like it reminds me of like the thing is you mentioned death. It reminds me of this meme I saw of these guys playing Yu-Gi-Oh, and one guy had a pistol next to him. It's like when you're about to send someone to the Shadow Realm one way. I was like, damn. But Yu-Gi-Oh was another game that I don't know. Here's the thing. I grew up in Utah, a suburban elementary school. For some reason, gambling was like a big thing at my school. Like you couldn't play, huh?
It was everywhere, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the risk of sounding cliche. Pogs. I remember you said gambling, and all I can think about is fucking Pogs. And I'm not talking like, oh, PogChamp or Poggers. No, like the little plastic
The little
discs that
plastic
had like
coins. Yep.
pictures on them. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I
you
remember
can get them
those.
in all sorts of like popular shows and whatnot. And fucking slammers. I had one that looked like a Beyblade. Actually, it was very jagged and hurt a lot to get hit with. But yeah, we would have this underground black market gambling thing set up for those fucking things in elementary school, and it's like, holy fuck, dude.
With some serious shit.
Yeah.
This
I
is
just
fucking
remember.
great.
Yeah, I just remember like because it was everywhere. It was like it was everything from Pokemon to Beyblades, Yu-Gi-Oh. Like you couldn't do a match without someone going like, "What's your ante?"
What does that mean?
It was like, "What's your ante?"
I don't.
It's in the same regard as, like, if you want to duel me in Yu-Gi-Oh, you have to show up your favorite card.
Yeah, it's
Oh.
essentially like, what are you offering as my reward for wasting my time with you?
Right.
Which you gotta understand, like 10 from like kids that are from like 6 to 10, they're just going like, are you worth my time? That is a weird that's a weird thing to be going like, you're kids, you have nothing but time to waste. Where do you have to be? Like, what am I taking away from you? And the fact that we're gonna be doing this. Well, I guess like in a sense, because we had like recess, and then that's like 15 to 30 minutes, and then you had lunch break, which was an hour. So I guess I could see. Okay, now I can kind of see back then why you'd be like, look, we only got this much time to be outside before we have to go do fucking math again, man.
Right.
Make it worth my while.
It's a strange way in, like, now as adults, it's like our time is precious. I'm not gonna be wasting time unless there's something in it for me. Give me my entertainment. Give me your sweet card that you clearly got out of a booster pack that your parents bought you.
Yeah, all right.
Run your
Or
shit, bitch. Essentially, no.
dude, I remember playing I was playing Pokemon, and someone came up and they're like, "Yo, if you yo battle me, and if you win, I'll give you a Mewtwo." I was just like, "Why? Why would I do that? I already have one." He's like, "You don't want another one for like trades or something?" And I was like, "No." And I was like, "Why did you like?" It was one of those things. Like as a kid, I didn't really understand like what was there to gain from risking something that I already have, or risking something I have for something I already have.
There's always some sort of reward to be gaining, and, like, I think it's just the whole, like, kind of like street cred, if anything. Hey, give me Mewtwo's, and, like, I'm the kid who has 5 Mewtwo's because I've been collecting it from all the other kids, type of deal.
Yeah, it was.
I know. Sorry, go for it.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna segue back into the TV shows in the '90s. But I mean, if we're segueing back into that, shows that got revived, kind of in the sense of, like, the way G.I. Joe tried reviving.
Digimon.
I don't know, not just that. Digimon. I think Digimon still holds strong because of a lot of different things. But I'm talking about Animaniacs.
Yes.
Yes, Animaniacs was one of those 90s
Good
cartoons
show.
that did. I haven't even watched the new ones yet.
The new one's actually
Very
really good. Me and Skittles watched it together, and I definitely think it still holds very well for the humor. It clearly, I think, was greenlit for a season 2, but wow, Animaniacs very political for a kid show.
It was political when it first came out. Like it had so many. I remember it had so many adult references. Like as a kid, I didn't know what they were, but I just remember my mom would be watching with me, and then she just bust up laughing. I'd be like, "What's so funny?" She'd be like, don't worry about it." It, well, it was more of like she would explain it in a way that a kid would understand. But then again, I wasn't really much of a sheltered kid. I had a bit of a weird childhood because when because like I said, like I had a mom that was always working, so for like 4 hours of the day, I would just be able to leave the house, and my mom wouldn't even know. Like I could just leave the house and go
Wow.
anywhere in the neighborhood.
Meanwhile, kids over here in California and New York can't leave the house because we'll get shanked on the street. Apparently,
Right. All right. It's not that bad.
no,
It's
I'm
not
no,
that bad.
I'm referring to the fact that, like, I'm the fact that you comment. I don't know if I read into the commentary, but I'm assuming you weren't allowed out as a kid, as I wasn't. But that's because I had like a police dad who was afraid of the dangers of the world.
I don't want to go outside.
You also kind of like lived in a city. You think about I'm not sure where EJ grew up, but I know Maniacal and I had pretty much the same upbringing. We were kind of in the rural area. It wasn't like major city. The street lights came on, you went the fuck home kind of thing. We also grew up in the latchkey kid generation where parents would work 40 hours a week and we would be allowed to stay home with either an older sibling or by ourselves and be like, all right, dinner's in the fridge, make sure to lock the door. We'll be back at like 2 o'clock in the morning. Bye.
Yeah, essentially, yeah, that would be the case. I
It was
mean,
Now, if I were to have grown up like in a major metropolitan area, it would most likely be a different story. Because again, the difference between having a rural it's so hard to say.
rural,
whatever.
Small town life is like you know everybody. You have high school classes of like maybe 300 other kids. You have people you grow up with and people who across the street know you and have watched you grow up. So like that kind of neighborhood versus like growing up in a big ass city where there's less of that.
yeah, yeah. There's a huge difference because I grew up in St. George, which was like it wasn't a small town, but it was basically a small city. So it wasn't really all that dangerous. Like I could walk down the street and everyone knew who I was because they were just like, he's the neighbor kid. Suburban life is like one of those things where you just grew up like near. I don't know if it was like a suburb. I just know I like for like the first major points in my life from like 5 to 8, no 5 to 10. I just grew up in this neighborhood where you just kind of did what you want. And you just did where you went. So,
God,
but
I'm
yeah,
gonna quickly bring it back because I'm really like, there's a lot of stuff because kids who grew up in the '90s and eventually turned out to like be people who worked in the entertainment studios to showcase the shows that they loved. Hence why I think Rugrats is either came back or is coming back with the 3D animation variant.
Oh god.
I've been hearing good things about it. Um, but another one, for example, that came back in such a full swing of things. I mean, it's really killing it. Is Ducktales. Man, I don't know if any of you grew up with the original ones, but the new one is hitting it out of the ballpark, and you can easily watch like the hour-long episode that they released on YouTube, and they also let the first episode be aired on YouTube entirely for free.
Hey,
Wow.
here's where I excel. This is where we come in full
I
force
was
because toys, whatever, didn't have much. We were very poor growing up, so we got whatever we got from like the fucking Goodwill Christmas bins. But cartoons, yeah, that was my jam. So I'm on the fence about this whole resurgence. On the one hand, we have companies and creators who are absolutely banking on nostalgia for nostalgia purposes, only to create a quick buck. They are also doing something where they're not trusting their audience to enjoy a new narrative. Like they're not coming up with anything new because they don't have the confidence in us, the audience, to enjoy it. So they are going for the tried and true that we know this because we grew up with this, so it's going to definitely hit the mark. And then at the same time, like I am a fool for this. I fucking love that the new DuckTales came out. That's amazing. I love that Rob Paulson picked up where he left off with the Animaniacs. I love that all of these things are coming back because I know from my childhood that these are good things. So
and
I know that they can do these things. It's just, oh, I'm not sure.
Well,
and
here.
and
Oh, sorry. Go for it, Maniacal.
I was just gonna say because I'm kind of the opposite because it's only been like Disney and Warner Brothers who's been kind of doing this. On the other hand, because I grew up more on Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network, which they just basically have just been going downhill in my opinion because they don't even care about their older fans. They just feel like they've just written this off. To where I don't know if you guys know of the project Peach Creek.
I actually do.
Yes,
Oh,
uh, Peach Creek is it's a YouTube animation group who are trying to uh, basically follow where you know what Ed, Ed and Eddie is, right?
I love that show.
Yes. Well, what Peach Creek is doing is they're following the Eds, uh, in their young adult lives. Like, I think Double D is. I think like the first episode, what they're talking about is Double D is turning 18. They're showing like how everyone's still living in the old cul-de-sac, but everyone is kind of like entering adulthood. Which I was like, wow, this is really cool. This is something I'd actually really like to watch.
I was gonna say, adding into that, both me and Maniacal both grew into being animators. Him actually going to schooling for it, and I looking into like books and stuff because I just personally wanted to be an animator and just read it myself. One of the main things about Ed and Eddie that a lot of people like might not recall fully is the fact that there's this type of like a squiggly line animation that would happen within the show, and that's because Ed and Eddie was one of the last few shows to be cell animated, where every frame was actually painted. And so, what I think is one of my favorite things about this project is that, despite the fact that it is digitally animated, they make sure to redraw every single frame, but using the paintbrush tool in its most loose form to replicate that style.
Yeah, that was something I really enjoyed too. Is because as he mentioned it, they held pretty close to its original animation in the art style and direction, as well as like I know this isn't like something that isn't too hard to do, but they held the color tone for that show pretty well. I know it's like a slightly dingier gray, but it's still you it didn't feel like it was fan made when I first saw it. I was like, oh shit, Cartoon Network going Adult Swim on Ed and Eddie. Oh, it's a fan project. I was like, wow, that's a really good fan project.
Yeah. Well, I think my introduction to it was that trailer where you saw I think it's Marie Kinker going through the fridge and like, oh, I ate the last slice of cake, and you have Lee Kinker like getting mad at her, and you see Eddie like falling out the window of Lee's of the trailer, indicating that he was just spending the night with Lee.
Which okay, no, that confused me because they live in a trailer. It's not two-story. It's not a two-story trailer. So I was like, wait, why these people?
Actually, no. If you in the show, you'll see that it actually was a two-story trailer. They showcase it Well, that's another thing. Ed and Eddie was one of those shows that like very much exaggerated everything. So I'd imagine it, while quote unquote it was a 2-story trailer, it's probably like one of those ones where like the bedroom was more like a mattress that was like in the top of the car or the top of the trailer. But for all intents and purposes, it was a 2-story trailer whenever you looked at the show.
I probably I don't think I've paid too much attention to because it was such a rarely used scene in the show. So
Yes, that is true. The Eds usually avoided going there, so it didn't let to that. But I think getting off topic because we're talking about like resurgences of like shows from the 90s, and so you were saying how like you're just kind of you said you were the opposite of what Skittles was going for.
yeah, because like most of the show, because I'm guessing she grew up more on like Disney and what was it, 4 Kids.
No, no. Oh no. I was I was at the height of the 90s cartoon like explosion. So after school was usually spent with like Fox. X-Men definitely was my number one. I'd fight my brothers over that because they wanted to watch something else, but no, the fucking X-Men. Uh, there was all of the Cartoon Network was my jam. Not so much on the Disney, even though I fucking love Disney. We didn't get that channel. It cost too much money, so it was mostly just Cartoon Network. Nickelodeon was okay. I thought it was like more baby shows because Rugrats and stuff that my little brothers would like. I didn't necessarily enjoy,
I'm just gonna add this in.
but
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna add this in that I am not a Rugrats. I'm not a Rugrats fan. I actually grew up, and anytime Rugrats was on the TV, I would just change that channel right away. I did not like the show.
I see
I
your list there. But yeah, Gargoyles was another huge one for me too, because I also grew up loving Star Trek, and the amount of integration between the cast of Star Trek: The Next Generation and Gargoyles, the animated series, is insane. Like those are all the voices I grew up with. Those are all the people that I know um, playing these really cool freaking fantasy hero element things. It's great. It's freaking great. But another one that I incredibly
Gargoyles
enjoyed was SWAT
scared me as a
Cats.
kid. I know SWAT cats.
Yeah,
I know SWAT. I didn't
I have
watch much of
no
it.
no questions about why people think I'm furry because everything that was about that show at the time was like, this
It
is
was
so cool. Oh yeah, and what was it, executive mayor or whatever, the deputy mayor Briggs was hot as fuck.
yes. See, I'm gonna be with you on that whole. I think SWAT cats made me a furry thing, but I don't think it was just SWAT cats. I don't know if you remember the cartoon Tailspin. Do you remember Tailspin?
Yes. Oh, we to spin. Yeah,
Yeah,
Becky. Hmm.
yeah. She, yeah,
Uh-huh.
you know where Skittles knows where I'm
Yeah.
I think this is adding into the. I'm gonna talk. Anytime Ducktales gets brought back up, I'm referring to like the new resurgence. I will talk everyone's ear off because it's crazy how it's not just Ducktales that they're trying to like revive through the show. I don't know if you guys have kept up with it, but that hour long episode that me and Skittles watched together was about Darkwing Duck. That is one of my favorite things about the entire show. And when you look at it, it's not like, because yes, there's the Scrooge McDuck comics that were huge, and clearly the show is supposed to be an homage and a direct reference to those comics. But then all of a sudden you get Darkwing Duck, and they start doing multi-dimensional stuff where Darkwing's villains come into the actual series, and then you have like there was an insert because the Chip and Dale Rescuers were a part of a few episodes. Then there's
Yeah, they showed like the origin story for Gadget. Gidget? What's her
yes,
name?
Gidget.
Gidget? Yeah. Oh, wait. Yep. I remember Rescue Rangers. Gidget is another.
Yeah.
Yep. That's another one that will.
And so it's just it's crazy how I I did not grow up watching DuckTales as much as I would have loved to, but I feel like just this one just really goes off. But going into shows that do get revivals, how about a show that will never get a revival unless it's on an adult network? as Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
Rocco's Modern Life.
Now that one I think actually gets an exception because that one got an entire, I think it was either a Netflix episode where it just kind of like wraps up the show.
Yeah, but Netflix, you can literally put anything on Netflix, and it can either be for adults or children because that is to your discretion type.
Fair.
I'm talking like network, because everyone knows Rocco worked at a fucking sex hotline for like an episode.
Several.
Several. Oh god.
But yeah,
there's
they had
several.
like that mini movie comeback thing couple of years ago. It was pretty fucking great.
God, and then there's the
They
fact
were
that
they weren't kidding about it. They were like, we know we are pandering. We are absolutely getting down on our knees and saying, hey, you guys, we know exactly what we're doing. So that was very tongue in cheek, and I appreciated it.
also the episode where she drugs Rocco's drink. I was that.
Whoa. What?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. There was an episode where his neighbor, I guess, is sexually deprived or something, and roofies Rocco's drink. I was
I've
like,
never seen
But
Rocco's
she
Modern
found out that he was like the person on the phone, so she got kind of hot and bothered about that.
oh god, this is.
It definitely was very interesting to say the least. I was gonna say, did you guys? So we're talking about these kind of like, once again, it's the revivals, shows that do well. Did you guys? And did any of you hear about the Powerpuff Girls revival? That, in my opinion, from what I saw, did not do well.
Did
no,
not.
it didn't do
It's
well at
still
all.
happening.
Oh, it's still going.
Yeah.
Damn, they're really trying to get all they can out of that dead horse, aren't they?
Okay. The whole freaking Jendy Tartakovsky like animation. I don't know what to call it. I forgot the word. Like his entire freaking list of things, like Samurai Jack, Powerpuff Girls, Dexter's Laboratory, that entire freaking era right there is Golden Age Cartoon Network for me. It's absolutely amazing, and I love that he's still working on stuff. But yeah, the Powerpuff Girls remake is meh. It's very meh.
Well, because it wasn't him who did the remake. I think it was someone else who did, because the animation style is completely different from the remake, and as well as the storytelling and like the character. I think I watched like 5 episodes. I could tell like everything was completely different from the characters to the animation to the stories. Like it was just, it wasn't Powerpuff Girls. I feel like it was.
It was a company that was trying to be Powerpuff Girls, but not the soul of it.
Yeah, like instead of being fun, wacky superheroes, I feel like they were trying to be like. Now I'm gonna probably get some hate for this. I feel like they were like trying to be feminist empowering, or like, trying to placate to a Karen. I feel like that is the best way I can describe it. Is they were trying to appeal to a Karen. Like a Karen came up, said, "I wasn't happy with Powerpuff Girls," and they're like, "Hold on, we'll fix it. We'll get you what you want." That is how I feel about the new Powerpuff Girls.
I just okay. I do get what you're saying at least, because I think the better example for this would be like pulling up Ghostbusters when it comes down to what you're trying to get a point across, where it's just there's legitimate empowerment in my opinion, and there are some good shows that do it. Like I'm saying it again. DuckTales did really well with the changing of female character whose name I'm forgetting. Yeah, there's Della. It's the young girl who like looked pretty much just like a clone. It was Huey, Louie, Dewey, and the little girl who had like a pink bow. Webby, there it is. Webby had another good revival, and that actually feels like a female empowerment character. But then all of a sudden you get something like Ghostbusters or the Powerpuff Girls, where it feels less like empowerment and more like pandering. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what you're trying to get to. There are some shows that seem to be doing it for the sake of of understanding what real empowerment is, and some shows that seem to be doing it because they think that, hey, if we show quote unquote empowerment, that will get us views.
Yes, exactly.
You want to know one that I loved, absolutely fucking loved and adored that they brought back? I loved the original too, but She-Ra, Princesses of Power.
Yes.
So the new one is fucking amazing. They did such a good job. They were inclusive. The animation was incredible. The storyline was amazing. They did
Is that
such a good fucking job.
is that you're talking about the one that has the other
Yeah, the
furry
one that's on
awakening,
Netflix.
the one that has the other
No,
furry awakening character in it,
Catra.
Yes.
Yeah. I have actually never watched the new She-Ra, and I didn't watch the original, but I've been wanting to
I
watch the new She-Ra because
I
it
100% recommend it. Like absolutely. Same with Voltron too. The new Voltron that came out recently with Joaquin Dos Santos at the head. He was one of the original creators, animators, and writers for Avatar: The Last Airbender, and you can absolutely see that quality, that love that he has for that type of animation and storytelling, brought over to the new Voltron.
So
I've seen like I think half of season 1 of the new Voltron, and I can agree it's actually really
so
good.
I will add this in. So back when I used to work at Anime Expo, it was a year. Yes, I actually worked at Anime Expo for a few years. Don't ever go. It's a horrible thing. That's not like managed well. There's a lot of people. It's sweaty. Go to smaller cons. They're much nicer to go to. But back when I worked
Let
there,
me recommend one, Anime Bonsai here in Utah. I don't know if they're still going, but the last two I helped work, great place.
yes.
Excellent.
But adding into this is that I remember all of a sudden I was told, hey, we're escorting the people who are working on Voltron to their panel, and I'm like,
Oh god,
oh,
that's cool.
Voltron, that got revived. Oh, that's kind of weird. I never watched the show. It just looked like a Power Rangers clone to me. But then we end up guiding them, and I actually like was able to talk to. It was the director of Voltron, who I was talking to, and so I was like, oh, that's pretty cool to be working on it. How do you like it? And he's like, oh, explaining to me the show, and I'm like thinking to myself like, what the fuck is this show sounds really cool. Why have I not like started watching? And he's like, have you not watched it? I'm like, I'll be honest with you. I have not heard of you. I have not heard that this show was being revived until we were escorting you guys. And he was like, oh, well, here's your calling card. Go watch it. And when I went to their panel, because I was gonna have to escort them back. You could see the love because it wasn't just a panel explaining like the show. It was a panel explaining how to actually work in the industry, as well as like a sit down and draw when watch them draw, where they drew each of the characters um, as though they were attending the con. And I remember explicitly that they were drawing all the characters dying of heat, and they drew. I think it was Keith. You could see the woman who was like the main artist for Keith. She was like very much enjoying. She had the whole like he's sitting back in his chair. He's wearing a muscle tee. The sweat is glistening off of him, and everyone's just like, of course, they love what they're working on, and it shows in even the panels that they were at.
I just realized that Glenn from The Walking Dead does Keith's voice, and it's just like, what? Wait,
What the
what?
fuck?
Yeah, I didn't know. Now I know.
But no, government.
Uh, and to get back, let me bring it back to the back in my day. I kind of wanted to, because EJ mentioned it earlier, the playground and stuff. Do you guys, what is a playground story you guys have from back? Because I remember the playground was the Wild West for me as a kid.
If I may, if I
You
may,
you may start this off,
I
my
have a
friend.
lot of stories, but
You
the
get one because
I'm telling the best one. So I owned a DS, a DS Lite, DSi, whatever the hell, not the original one, but the one step up. And I owned Mario Kart for the DS. And I had a bunch of friends. All my friends owned a DS. No one owned Mario Kart. And we would be in the playground. It'd be like 8 of us. And I was the only kid in my entire school to own Mario Kart. So I was like, if you didn't get in the room, you didn't get in the room that day. And kids would be pressed and they'd be arguing. Like kids would share a DS for each race. But it was just like we used to grind out like just to have fun. And I wasn't like really good back then, so I'd always get like third or fourth. But it was just like I was having a lot of fun because everyone was around me, and we would just play. And then sometime later, when we really got into it, some kids started putting up like lunch or snacks or money. I wasn't like a good. I didn't have bread, but I was a good artist. So I would like put up a drawing that they would want for some reason. I still never understood that, but it was just like it was so much fun, like playing for something and like winning or getting something. It was just really great, honestly.
Okay, okay, EJ, I'm glad you went first because that was the complete opposite of what my playground experience was when I was a kid. Because
Hell too.
before I, huh?
My playground was hell. Kids would fight each other, like fights would break out over shit. Kids would steal
I
cards, but it's just like that was, good time, good time.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, like, I'm talking because, and that was, and I understand, like, that's all natural. Like, kids fight, steal shit, all that. But I'm talking about like, you didn't, we didn't bother with Game Boy because I didn't have a Game Boy SP until like I was 8. So by that time I was done. I'm talking because like back when I was like from like 5 to 6, from 5 to 7, it was all about the adventure. Like, what was the adventure for the playground that day with you and your group of friends or something like that? Because that playground was. You guys know the box episode from SpongeBob?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what it was. We like I sound older than I am, but imagination was like half the battle of Reese's when I was a kid, and the stories you would come up with and like that. But then there'd be that one kid that would take it over the top to where suddenly the story's over. Like he went too far.
It's just like, all right, relax, Jimbo.
Well, yeah, pretty much. Because I remember we were playing one. I think it was a game. We were playing Pirates of the Caribbean, or not Pirates of the Caribbean. It was because Pirates of the Caribbean hadn't come out yet when I was a kid. I think it was just pirates. We were just pirates. And uh, I remember someone was like, "All right, matey, you lock the plank." And this kid, I don't know what happened, but he got so into it. They went to like one of the sections of the playground where you're able to like slide down this pole or something. And I'm not on camera.
He just walked off.
He jumped off. Like he went like he like just jumped, and then he just got so into like what he was doing, and he jumped, and as soon as he hit the ground he realized his mistake, like the rest of us did. Like we were like, oh no. He just because the playground was like it had like stories to it, and he was like at the highest.
Oh no.
I would have
when he-
encouraged it. I'm not gonna lie.
Do a flip.
well, in a way, we kind of did because we were like, "Yeah, walk the plank," because he was like the stowaway or something. And we all were like, "Walk the plank," and he was trying to be like this tough stowaway. And he's like, "I'll see you in Davy Jones," and then he jumped. And as soon as he jumped, we all of us realized that like, oh.
That kid was the closest to seeing Davy Jones IRL.
He and the sound he made because it was the wood chips. Like this is back when
It wasn't
they
metal or plastic. It was wood.
it was wood chips.
Yeah, I know this.
Yeah, it wasn't like the foam rubber plastic padding on the bottom. It was
wood chips on the ground.
It was wood chips.
Oh, he ate shit. He
And
ate shit.
and so when he hit, you just heard the boom, like through the ground, and then you just hear him scream like he had just been stabbed, because he kind of was, because the wood chip had stabbed into his arm. he, he had fell with so much force that
Dumbass. Dumbass.
yeah.
Oh man.
All
Well,
right, so
no, go for it.
all right, so it's looking like we're hitting the hour mark, but you guys cool going for a couple more minutes?
I'm down. I'm down with it. Just to wrap up with our stories, right?
Yeah,
'Cause
just
I-
to wrap up with our stories and stuff.
I definitely don't have like a lot of good playground stories. Sad child, but I at least remember. I'm trying to think of at least one good playground story. Is that at my school there was a kind of like a sand pit, and one of the biggest things we would always do at this place would be like to go from one side of the sand pit to the other, and it was almost like a collaborative like playground project to make a singular tunnel that would just go through. But the tunnel, in order for it to be like a singular tunnel, you would have to like have like little like pockets that would like where like you would dig upward. And so we would have these little like continuations, and eventually we just have one huge like snake of a tunnel that just streaks throughout the entire sandbox, only for like a kid to like come running over because they're in a game of tag, and then they accidentally fall into one of the pit traps that we had didn't realize we had made, get his foot caught.
Yeah. I actually remember doing that, except uh, we, and this was back in preschool, and then we had dug underneath the cinder block wall that we that was there. Because in preschool, they have walls to keep us kids in. In elementary, there was nothing that if you went off campus, you went off campus. There was nothing that stops you. And we had dug underneath the wall unknowingly, and when we popped up, we were like, realized we were on the other side of the wall.
Freedom!
It's like a bunch of 4-year-olds just go like, where are we? What do we do?
Yeah.
Should we bury the hole? But yeah, but that's actually really cool because that's
Snuck
like
shit in.
that's actually a really cool story. For the fact that like it's just like all you kids were like, so we're digging the tunnel, right? Yeah, I guess we're all digging the tunnel.
Did the teacher ever, like, the person watching ever, like, come over and say some shit to you kids, or, like, just no?
I think that instant, yes, but they normally didn't talk about anything because they didn't think kids were dumb enough to be running into like where like a bunch of kids are playing, and like with the sand, like, oh, that's kind of a dick move if the kid decides to go running into where they're having fun. But sure enough, that kid was the one kid who wanted to be a dick, and he ended up getting his shit rocked by the earth.
Funny as fuck.
Is it a dick move, or is just a kid not paying attention, not realizing that they?
I think you'd have. I think it's hard to not pay attention to at least like 5 kids at the sand pit.
I mean, like when he's running, like he's just not paying attention to where he's going. Like he wasn't trying to be a dick. He just was running in a direction. And was like he was just like, I am speed. I am lightning.
But for the most part, that's pretty much like all the stories I can think of for all of us, because Skittles is right now getting ready for work. So if this is cool with you, Maniacal, you want to wrap it up here?
Yeah, I'd say it's about time we wrap up. It's been a good show.
Yes, it
I feel
has.
like we had a lot of fun today.
Yes, it was. Thank you everyone so much for tuning on in. It's a pleasure having you all join us for our talks. If you enjoyed today's content and want to keep supporting it, please follow and subscribe for more of this. For any more stream notifications, possible chances to participate, and even content polls, follow my Twitter and join the Undead Legion and Discord. And for any VODs to today's episode, check out the Lich YouTube channel. We'll probably be breaking out the new topic either sometime during the week, because me and Maniacal usually just kind of think about what to go over next. And of course, don't forget, tune in tomorrow for the Monday D&D stream. Thank you everyone so much for coming on in, and have a good night.
Yeah.
Good night.